I am Kiran Rao, Aamir Khan's wife, ex-wife. That bothers me.
Hello and welcome to another episode of SoSouth Interviews. I am Sanjay Ponnappa, and with me today is the director of a film that is yet to release, but I was very lucky to get a small glimpse of it, Laapataa Ladies, and the director is Kiran Rao. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. You didn't see the full film?
I did.
Oh, you did. Okay, good.
And it was great. I loved the film. It was like the characters. I was on a train ride and it slowly started picking up and it ended beautifully. So it is a beautiful film and I don't know, probably confidence, but congratulations for the film.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
But what do you feel about the film? How satisfied are you? How content are you with the film and its output?
You know, it was quite a challenge for me to take it on in the first place because it's in that sense, it's a very mainstream film. It's a comedy, it's a rural story, all these things that I am not necessarily associated with. But I have to tell you, I had actually, even though we were shooting through COVID, we've had many challenges along the way, it was genuinely the most fun I've had in my life. I literally had fun every single day of this film, even through the 1 year of editing. I've enjoyed myself, you know, so it's been a great ride. And I'm happy that the train is finally pulling into a station on the 1st of March.
And what about the young bunch of your actors?
Oh, you've interacted with them. They are very enthusiastic, very full of energy and really, amazingly talented and mature for their age. You know, despite the fact that they haven't done films before. Of course, they've had experiences on OTT and television and Nitanshi is the youngest and a social media superstar. They are so mature and so hardworking, honestly. Really, they put in everything they had to make these characters come to life and find something of themselves in each character. So I really enjoyed working with them.
Coming to the story of the film, ma'am, the small one-liner of the film itself is so quirky and so, unorthodox. I enjoyed while pitching this whole interview to my bosses when I said this story is about two brides who change places.
Get swapped on a train. Yeah.
So, where did you come up with this story? Ye idea?
Kahan se aaya? It actually, I didn't come up with the story. It was Aamir who found this story. He was actually a judge in a script writing competition. Okay. And this was one of the stories that was submitted for it. It was a competition in 2018 organized by Cinestan. And this writer called Biplab Goswami had written this script called Two Brides. Okay. That was the original name. And Aamir was one of the judges. So when he got the script, he loved it. And he came home and told me, I'll tell you a story in one line. There are these two brides, they're going on a train and they get swapped. And like every story, I think that is, that this is a story that's going to work is the kind of story that makes you go, then what happens? Phir kya hua? What next? Exactly. And this story has that quality, that one line, like you said, the hook is enough for you to think, okay, then what happens? So same happened with me. And I was like, I want to read the script. So I read the script. I really loved it. I wanted to adapt it. I wanted to make it into a comedy and make it really fun. So I brought on another writer called Sneha Desai to write it. So she was the one who wrote the screenplay and dialogue. And I brought on another writer called Divyanidhi Sharma to give it this Bhojpuri, dialect, but also to create this character of Shyam Manohar, the police daroga. The inspector of police, who is Ravi Kishan, who everybody, whoever watches the film comes away as a fan of Ravi Kishan. So he created Ravi Kishan. So it was a result actually of all these, all my writing colleagues who helped me build the original story into the, this kind of like a fun coming of age journey of two girls.
Another thing I really wanted to ask, while I was watching the film, I could see myself laughing at Deepak's misery. The expressions, the acting that he was giving was purely, very joyful, but at the same time, it was sad for him from his character's point of view. Was all of this a conscious choice?
Yes, it was. And, actually that's something that it was in pitch, it was very important for me to maintain The fact that you really empathize with him, but you're still laughing at the situation because the situation demands it, and his reaction to the situation is so funny that you can't help but laugh. But his performance and the way his character was developed on paper also was very unusual for a hero in a film. You know, actually on paper, his role is he's just running around looking for his wife, you know. There's no arc in a character, which is traditionally how a protagonist is written. But in his case, you can't take your eyes off him when he's on the screen, because as the protagonist, he's so full of vulnerability, of genuine like sort of love for his wife, very unlike most male heroes, you know. So I feel like it's you know, we had a lot of fun writing it, but I think we had even more fun watching him perform.
Also, the beauty of that character, in my opinion, is the placement of the character. While he is showing so much love and vulnerability for his lost wife, everybody around him is in a different line. They are going on a different tangent, and this is highlighting him. So that was beautiful writing, in my opinion. Another thing about the writing is, ma'am, I could sense this touch of, you know, I felt a little nostalgic, like I was reading some old Indian short story, and all these characters, even Ravi Kishan ji's character was, it felt like, oh, I've seen him, it's fun, I want to watch more. So was that another thing that was conscious?
You know, we wanted to build a world with characters of different kinds, you know, because honestly, I feel like that's what makes storytelling rich, is when you're not just following the main characters, but you have a whole host of other supporting characters who bring different perspectives to that story. So whether it's a Manju Mai played by Chhaya Kadam, or it's Chotu, the boy at the bus stand, or I mean at the tea stand, or, you know, it's Ravi Kishan. You know, you kind of, all these other characters give the story the much needed sort of perspective from outside. You build a world and you build all your arguments for this world. It also gave me, so it was very conscious, you know. It also gave me the chance to explore women at different ages, you know. So these girls are of course young, but you have a slightly older bahu, you have a mother, you have a grandmother, you know, you have a Manjumai who's a independent woman. So it also allowed us to explore the real range of types of people and women that we have in this country, honestly. Otherwise, it tends to be only a story about the boy and the girl, or the three, you know, lead characters. And that was very conscious, because I felt like this story is touching upon so many things that I would like to talk about. And that's what interested me about this story.
Even all the female characters in the film, they were also beautifully written and so distinctively written as well, where you can see they are empowering each other, which was beautiful to see. On one end, there is Pushpa Rani, Jaya, who is strong, a little conniving, there's a hint of that too. And on the other end, there is Phool, who is so naive, but then she's blossoming into a beautiful flower. So the writing, how much of you is in all of these characters?
You know, there's lots of me, but all credit really goes to Sneha for taking what was in my head and creating this brilliant script. Because when I read Biplab's story, I had lots of ideas for the kinds of characters I wanted. So Manjumai was not there in Biplab's story at all. But I wanted a woman like her who could stand for many things that perhaps I feel strongly about. All the other women are women that I've experienced and I know in my life, you know. I feel like they are familiar. They are people I have met and, you know, been close to. So there's lots of me and my experience, but honestly, the credit for it, for developing them, goes to Sneha Desai, the writer. So while she was able to take all the ideas that I had and make something much better than I could have imagined.
Great. Ma'am, another question. This isn't necessarily about the film, but to you as a producer, how important is PR strategies in today's day and age, where a film is it clicks or not, mostly is dependent on the public relation before?
Honestly, it's everything. So it's not just important, it's essential, it's critical, it's what is a make or break for any film. Because you see, back when I started working 25 years ago, there was only one way to do anything. You put out television commercials, or you put your, trailer in the theater, or you're on TV if you had money. You launched songs and you put out ads in papers. There wasn't anything that you could do beyond that. But what has happened now with the proliferation of media around us and the kinds of platforms that people use for different things, people's attention is at the highest premium. And to get that attention is what strategy is all about. How do you tell people that, boss, I'm coming on the 1st of March? Because they would have seen it, they see the trailer, we love it, but we've forgotten. By tomorrow, we've got 10 new things that we've seen. So PR strategy, I think, is extremely important, especially for a film like ours, which is small and unusual in some ways, and still is, I think, highly commercial and highly mainstream and could be very wide. So it doesn't have big stars. It's set in a village, so it doesn't have glamorous song sequences or car crashes or, huge action. It's not your standard commercial entertainer. So for us, strategy is actually even more important. I think it's important for everyone, even for the big films. But it's particularly important for us because we're dealing with much less budget and an unusual product. And we're competing on the same platform with everybody else. And you're competing with the Super Bowl. You're competing with everything. I mean, what are you not competing with today?
And about this PR strategy, then, a film like Laapataa Ladies, which in today's day and age, most would say that it isn't, it's sort of an OTT film or something like that. How is it a risky thing to release it in theaters before you go direct, instead of a direct OTT release?
I'm really happy to say that, I mean, it is risky, of course, because at the end of the day, film people, footfalls in cinema is only slowly coming back after the COVID break. But films like 12th Fail have proved that people do come out if they think a story is good. So it is a risk. And I think for every producer, you have to be very smart about how big you make your film, and therefore how big the risk is of going to cinemas to recoup that film. But I think when you're very confident of your product and you do think that it has the potential to be liked by a broader audience, then you're willing to take that risk. And Aamir is that way, very balanced about what he'll put in a cinema in terms of scale. And this film he really felt would appeal to a lot of people, and we made it for a broad audience. So we do think that despite the fact that we are not an action film, people will come if they like the idea of this story or they like the trailer.
Ma'am, how was Aamir Khan as a producer on set? How involved was he, or was he a producer, or was he like hands-on? I want to be involved in everything.
No, in fact, Aamir is one of those producers who, once he decides that you're the right person to make a film, he only comes in at certain points. He comes in when he approves the script, which Sneha and I, when we finished writing it, we narrated it to him. He had some feedback. We did a few drafts. And then when he was happy with the script, he was like, go for it. He also comes in when it comes to casting, because casting can change budgets, as you know, and therefore the scale of the film considerably. So my belief that we needed a fresh cast, he was very supportive of, which I don't know many producers would be, who would be. But also he comes in when we are editing the film. So he comes in at these 2-3 key points which can change the actual product, which is the script, the casting and the editing. Otherwise he doesn't interfere, so to speak, at all. Having said that, I like to get his feedback on a lot of stuff, because he has got a really good sense for pitch and tone, whether it's performance, whether it's location. So whenever we could, we would share what we had shot with him. But largely he didn't get involved till the editing, where he came in after we'd done one cut. He came in for a week and sat with us, but that's it.
Okay. Ma'am, this one's on a slightly personal note. This tag of being Aamir Khan's wife, or now Aamir Khan's ex-wife, has that anyway irked you? Because even now when I pitch to somebody, it's like, okay, this and then this. I have to say this tag as well, wherein you've also created your own merit, you have your own achievements, but this tag is always there. A, does it bother you? Two, is it some sort of a pressure as well? Because to his greatness and achievements, that too is bagged on you.
Yeah. Well, initially it was difficult for me to see myself only through that lens, which is how everybody sees me. Because, I'm fairly independent, I had my own life when I married Aamir. And it took me not that much time to realize people's perception of me could either bother me and change my view of myself or a view of the world or not. And it didn't. So honestly, it doesn't bother me. I do have to say, at airports or any public place, when people come to me and say, you are, and they expect me to complete it and say, I am Kiran Rao, Aamir Khan's wife, ex-wife. That bothers me because people kind of recognize me sometimes and they're like not sure, but they know me through Aamir. That's very annoying. But otherwise, honestly, it doesn't bother me because it hasn't changed me in any deep way. I've pretty much stayed the same person. So yeah, it's for people to, decide how they want to see me. I know how I see myself. So that's the first part. But does it put pressure on me? Sometimes. I feel very responsible in some ways for Aamir because we work together. We've, in the last 15 years, built so much work together. I'm very protective in some ways of him. And I revel in his achievements as well. So in that sense, I do feel connected to his achievements or his failures or whatever. So I do. And that, I think, anyone who's close to, even if it were any other family member, it would affect you, their achievements or their failures. So yeah, that does put it. I don't think it pressures me so much. It's just in that sense, maybe emotionally, something that I will continue to have for him. A connection with him.
Okay. Last question, ma'am. While we were talking about pressure, box office, is Laapataa Ladies box office collection something that worries you? Is that something that has sort of a pressure on you?
It certainly does make me anxious because it's been a while since A, I've made a film, and two, it's also been, we don't have that many success stories of like 12th Fail of smaller films doing so well at the box office. So it does worry me a little bit. Luckily, I feel confident in what I've made, and I do think that if people give it a chance, they will enjoy it. So I think my job as a filmmaker, I think I've done adequately well. That takes some of the pressure off me. If I was unsure of what I'd made, I would be worried. I was much more worried, for instance, when Dhobi Ghat went to the cinemas, because it was an unusual film to put in a cinema and for that time. But this is, in that sense, a crowd-pleasing film. It's a film that makes you feel good at the end of the day. It's a happy-making film. So I'm confident of what I've made. But yeah, for sure. I am waiting a little bit anxiously for the first week to see how the film is received and how it does.
But the confidence is definitely in the right place, ma'am. As somebody who's seen the film, I can definitely vouch for the product that it is absolutely beautiful. So everybody on First Match, please go to the film and watch it. Don't miss it. It is something every one of you should see. Thank you so much for your time, ma'am. It was great talking to you.
It was really nice talking to you. Thanks so much.
That was Kiran Rao. I am Sanjay Ponnappa and you're watching India Today SoSouth.